Well, hi everyone. Stephen Spry again, coming at you this time from Canberra. If you're wondering what's going on, no, the weather hasn't turned bad or anything like that. I'm doing this to illustrate a point. What is the point? Well, life's full of stories. A story that I find particularly interesting is one that comes from 2,400 years ago. 2,400 years ago, a Greek philosopher by the name of Plato, he told a story about a cave and these people who were imprisoned in the cave, and all they could see were shadows on the wall in front of them, much like you're looking at now. You have to guess that it's really me. It could be me. I'm telling you that it's me, that this shadow is me, and I'm waving now to say, hi, yes, this is me, good stuff. But is it really? This is the point of Plato's story. And, there's my camera. Maybe it's a gun. Oh, that could be nasty. Don't necessarily want to do that, do I? These poor people that were living in this cave, they were actually imprisoned there. And they were strapped down and could only look forward, and all they could see were these shadows on the wall, doing funny things. And they really didn't know what was going on by looking at these shadows. I mean, I'm scratching my head at the moment. Or at least that's what I'm telling you I'm doing. I could be waving. I could have somebody talking at me, in my ear, whinge, 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 whinge. I mean, if I was any good at shadow puppets, damn, you saw my fingers. Sorry, not supposed to do that. Maybe I should be good at doing dogs or rabbits But enough about that. What's the point of the story? Well, the point of the story is that these guys were imprisoned, and all they could see on the wall of this cave were shadows. If we know anything about light, then you'll know that behind the people there was this bright light. It was actually a fire, and that light came down and cast the shadow of objects. So objects between the light and the wall would cast a shadow on the wall. Hello, camera. Or is that a gun? Again, we don't know, because you can't actually see what the object is. So you've got to guess. You've got to guess what the object is. So the light is behind these prisoners. In between the prisoners and the light were some puppeteers. Hello. And these puppeteers would walk backwards and forwards across behind the prisoners. They'd take shapes of all different sorts. They'd take them backwards and forwards behind the prisoners. So you might have an elephant, or you might have a tree, or something. You might have a whole variety of shapes that are moving backwards and forwards behind the prisoners. And they can't see what these shapes are. I mean, is this a hand, or is it a tree? It's a bit hard to tell. I mean, it is a hand, see, look, there it is. But see, they couldn't see the reality. All they could see was the shadow on the wall. So the question is, who are these puppeteers? Who are the people that are marching the shadows backwards and forwards, showing the prisoners what their reality is? Who are these people? And Plato said that they were the plutocracy, the government at the time. They were basically telling the people, this is what you think. This is what's happening around you. This is the world as you know it. Until one day, one of the prisoners got free. And the prisoner, when he got free, he turned around, and that light up there was it was too hard on his eyes. It was it just hurt so much, and he just couldn't handle it. So he turned away from the light, and he looked back at the wall again, because it was much easier on him. It was not as painful for him to just keep looking at the wall, because to turn around and look at the light and see reality just hurt so much. It was too hard to deal with. So the prisoner's got a choice at this point in time. He could just sit here and cope with this reality that the government has enforced on him, because it's comfortable, it doesn't hurt. I know what these shadows are. I've worked out. I've been able to work out what these shadows are. Or he can turn around and he can face the light. Or even better than that, he can see that there's another light from outside, a bit further behind that light, and he can make his way towards that light at the entrance of the cave, and he could go outside, and the light would be bright, and eventually his eyes would start to adjust, and he'd begin to focus on things, and he'd begin to see colour and shapes and forms, and he'd see houses, and he'd see trees, and he'd see people and grass and sky. And as he walked around, whoa, the world was wonderful. Look at the beautiful world, and then he'd see the light. He'd see the light, and he was truly amazed by it. So he rushed back into the cave to try and tell his friends that were in the cave the wonderful things that were going on outside, the wonderful things that he could see. And he'd rush back down into the cave, and he'd talk to his friends, and he'd say to them, "Friends, guess what I saw outside? It was beautiful, it was magnificent, it was wonderful." And his friends just all turned to him and said, "What the hell are you on about, man? What's wrong with you? Are you stark raving mad? Go away, you're insane, you're stupid, you're just ridiculous. Leave me alone. Please, I'm happy right where I am, looking at this world." The people didn't want to know about that reality. They didn't want to know what was going on out in the real world. They were quite comfortable just sitting here, looking at the reality that the government told them was going on. This is your reality, people. This is what life's all about. Funny thing is, we're not encouraged to get out of our cave. People don't want us to get out of our cave. They want us to watch. Well, let me turn around and show you what they want us to watch. There it is. This is what they want us to watch these days. Because that way they can control the message that you're getting. You can sit down here for 6 hours a night and just zombie out and watch the television and go to bed, and that's your life. And you believe whatever you see on this thing. Or, and they don't want you to do this, it's the whole point, they don't want you to go outside the cave and see what's going on out there in the big wide world. Because, wow, you might start thinking. You might start thinking about all sorts of things. Bad for government. Bad for lots of people if you, the citizen, starts to think. Interesting story, isn't it? I mean, really, 2,400 years ago, he's talking about escaping from your cave, escaping from the messages that are imposed on you by the bureaucracy. He's talking about government propaganda. He's talking about fake news. All sorts of things like that. 2,400 years ago. Might be some truth in it, eh? But only if you start thinking about it. If you don't think, everything will be fine. And I'll see you next time. Don't forget, like, subscribe, etc. Cheers for now. Bye.